morning in 1775, after about 20 years of abuses by King George III, 77 American Minutemen stood on Lexington Green. They faced about 1,000 British Marines and Grenadiers. In the ensuing combat that took place on Lexington Green, about 8 American men are killed outright, about 8 more wounded, and then they're bayoneted to death on the ground. Well, the trip back to Boston for those 1,000 British Marines and Grenadiers was very, very painful. It is from those 20 years of abuse by King George III that we develop our Constitution, all 7 articles, and our Bill of Rights. The states are sovereign and independent. They form the federal government with very limited powers. Those powers are delineated in the Constitution and those articles, and they're governed specifically by the 9th and 10th Amendment of the Bill of the Amendments that were added to reinforce the Continental Congress and the struggle to get the Constitution ratified. If, therefore, the states ratified the Constitution separately by states, there is a legal precedence for them to secede from that agreement when it no longer represents them equally and justly across the board. Sounds a little bit like current events. However, on another April morning in 1861, after quite a few abuses by the federal government, at a time when we funded 95% of the federal budget by tariffs, South Carolina had had enough of paying for a lot of these tariffs. They seceded from the Constitution. They retracted themselves from that agreement and became a sovereign and independent state, as they were when they agreed and ratified the Constitution. Mr. Lincoln, such as he was, did not tolerate that. Inside of Charleston Harbor, Fort Sumter, today is the anniversary of the shelling of Fort Sumter. But I don't want anyone to think that at 4:30 in the morning, Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard opened fire on Fort Sumter without talking to the commander, Anderson, who was a Kentuckian. Repeated attempts were made to get the federal garrison to leave Charleston Harbor. Lincoln sent a supply ship with reinforcements. It was fired on by South Carolina militia, had to turn around. One last attempt was made to have the federal garrison surrender, and they were all released in any event. They refused to do it. Sure as shooting, 4:30 the next morning, the 12th of April, Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard opened fire on Fort Sumter, reduced it to rubble. Amazingly, not one man is killed in the bombardment. They surrender the fort to the South Carolina militia, and they're immediately exchanged back to the Union side. Today's the anniversary of that. These 96 men that enlisted in the Confederate States Army at our courthouse right here in King George. We're here to honor them today on this anniversary. Thank you for your attention. I think I've expended my spleen sufficiently. Thank you very much.
At this time, we'll honor the soldiers with a gun salute. So we'll.
Okay, just right.